Paul here again with another episode of Butt Crack Cycles. If you're new here, this is my YouTube channel. I basically just do like old Harleys, Evo and earlier. Like the shovelhead right here next to me. I recently sort of finished this bike up, by which I mean, you know, it's at a point now where a lot of the big stuff, the big problems have been taken care of, and now like I can actually ride this thing and put some miles on it and spend some time with it and go on some adventures with it and get to like really know it. Now that I've gotten some saddle time on this thing, I'm starting to become aware of some little problems that it has, which is fine. So probably my most annoying thing that this bike has right now is it's kind of got like a little dead spot in the throttle. I've had this carburetor off and apart several times and changed jets. The timing on this bike is set correctly, the points are good, points gap is set right, and the bike honestly runs pretty well. It starts easily and makes good power and goes up and down the road good. But where this bike kind of falls on its face is when you're cruising along at a steady state and you just kind of gently start to roll in it. It doesn't spit or pop or sputter, it's just dead. There's like nothing there. And eventually you can get it to a spot in the throttle where you've rolled through that dead zone and you're like hammering on it now and it takes off and goes. I will show a video clip or two here on the screen to just sort of demonstrate what it is that I'm talking about. And then we'll come back here to the shop and talk about what I'm going to do to fix it.
Alright, so here's a spot that'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. I'm probably going about 35, maybe 40. I'm in third gear. We're going to start coming up this hill. And I'm rolling onto it, but I'm not really pulling the hill. It's going up the hill, but it's not accelerating. And if I lean further into it, there's nothing there. Until you get it over that point where it'll finally actually pull. So that kind of just that low to mid-range, there's definitely a pretty big dead spot there. And yeah, I think that's because of these pipes. Here's another good spot. Fourth gear, coming up a little hill, but I'm leaning into it and we're not really going anywhere. Until you finally crack the throttle open enough and it pulls.
So y'all saw what I was talking about there. It just kind of has a flat spot. And I think what I'm experiencing is what they call a drag pipe sag. Essentially, it's the reversion in the pipes as the sound waves and pressure waves of the exhaust come out. They're kind of bouncing off of each other, cycling back and forth inside of this exhaust pipe. A good analogy that I've seen is if you were to like tie a slinky to a 2x4 and pull the slinky and how it kind of, you can watch that wave bounce back and forth. S&S Carburetors actually has a really good video about this. I think it's called Fixing Drag Pipe Sag. And they use that slinky demonstration in there. I would highly recommend watching that video. And their suggestion to fixing this costs about $5. Well, their actual suggestion to fixing this is to take the drag pipes off and throw them in the trash and then buy a different set of pipes to put on, which I'm not doing. I like the way the drag pipes look, and I'm poor, so I don't want to spend any more money on this than I have to. Their other solution, which I've heard of people doing, is this. It costs about $5. I'll show you what it is. What you see here is a 1/4 inch 20 thumb screw. You can buy a 2-pack of these at pretty much any hardware store for about $2.50, at least that's what I paid. Then we've also got a pack of 1/4 inch 20 lock nuts. I probably had some of these around the house, but I was already at the store, so figured I'd buy some too. So what we're gonna do here is essentially just disrupt the flow of exhaust in a purposeful manner. We're gonna take one of these thumb screws and drill a hole in the exhaust pipe and put the thumb screw in there. And you can watch that S&S video. They tried it with the thumb screw in, you know, parallel to the exhaust flow, 45 degrees and 90 degrees. And the 90 degrees makes the biggest difference to that sort of, you know, sag spot. So that's how I'm going to put mine in. We're just going to drill a hole in the bottom of the pipe, sneak these on through, stick it through the hole, put the lock nut on the outside, go for a ride. Alright, so in order to try and keep everything as even as possible, I'm going to measure from right here in the slash tip. We're going to go back 2.5 inches and just mark it with a Sharpie, and then I'll mark the other pipe too. And then down here on the bottom underneath that mark is where we're going to drill our hole. So I threw the bike up on the work stand so I can actually get under it good and kind of transfer my mark down here and center punched it. And drill a pilot hole and then come back with the big drill bit and drill that next. Nice. Do a quick test fit from the outside. Ah, perfect. Yeah, that was a 17/64 drill bit, so just the next size up from 1/4 inch. So I actually got thinking about this, and I was like, oh, there's not really anything to stop the thumb screw from just getting pulled, you know, all the way down into the pipe. If you imagine like where my thumbnail is the inside of the pipe. I was like, so I'll grab a 1/4 inch nut and screw it on there, come down, you know, whatever, a 1/2 inch or so from there, and that'll keep the little thumb screw, the lollipop so to speak, sticking up in the middle of the pipe. So that's how I'm going to put it in. Once it's in there, I'll take a picture with the video camera of it, flashlight, so y'all can see what I'm talking about. I'm going to put this in. I'm going to hold the thumb screw with these pliers. I'm not actually sure where those pliers even came from. I think they were probably something from my Uncle Rich, or really what they're for, but man, I use these things all the time. These are strangely pretty useful and handy. And it's in there 90 degrees to the exhaust. And Paul said, let there be light. Check it. Yep. So we're in there roughly centered in the pipe and 90 degrees to the flow of exhaust gases. So I'm just gonna try and refocus the camera here. Yep. I did this one first, the back pipe. We'll do the front pipe. I'll have to reposition the bike on the stand. Obviously, the work stand's kind of under where I need to drill. So we'll do that, and then go take this thing for a ride. Alright, that's both of them done. Installed in both pipes. It's not too terribly noticeable. This back one probably, you can tell it a little bit more. You see that, the nut and a little bit of that thumb screw sticking out the bottom. But I think probably if you know, are looking at it from roughly head height, it's not terribly noticeable. I try to keep them on the back and sort of the inside. Also, real quick before I throw this on the ground, there is another way to do this I've heard of people doing, and I'll go show you all that too. Let me walk over to the workbench. The other way to do this is to take a bolt and a washer, weld the washer onto the head of the bolt, kind of like that, put the bolt through, and then put a nut, you know, from the outside of the pipe, just like we did. The thumb screws was just simpler and easier, and I didn't have to do any welding, and yeah, like I said, it was $250 for the pack of 2, so no brainer there. Ah, what is that sound? It's a shovel head. Doesn't come through really well on camera, but the exhaust note has actually changed. It's a little bit quieter and not quite as like boomy. So grab my side hook helmet and we'll go for a ride. You know what? I need my sunglasses too. Okay, got the Sunny G's. Alright, this will be the real test here, is how responsive this is. You know,
really to try and make more peak horsepower. We're just trying to pick things up, smooth it out underneath the curve. Let's hang a left here at the end of my street, and that first hill that was in the video that we watched back at the shop, that hill's right down here. So we're gonna go try and pull it again in third gear at about the same speed and see how it does. I don't even need to get to the hill. Yeah, that's actually a pretty noticeable improvement, you know, just coming out of that curve there. As the bike's starting to straighten back up and you're willing to give it some more throttle, it takes it and it goes. Man, I've never liked open pipes. I always like muffled pipes, and that's a big part of why. Nothing, and then it's like I had to grab a big handful of throttle and rip up the hill. This kind of just smoothly, or more smoothly, pulls up the hill. I still think a good set of mufflers would be better than this, but I'm not going to complain about this. Okay, let's go home.
The shovelhead's still chilling in the driveway. I'm going to probably go ride that thing around some more. But, you know, I got to say, I'm pretty impressed with this fix. This is one of those ones that, you know, the old timers were right. This absolutely does make a noticeable difference in the seat of the pants feel. It really, on my bike at least, solved a lot of that dead spot that I had. I bet I could get this even better if I played with the carburetor a little bit more now that I've made a change to the exhaust. But the important thing here to note is that drag pipes really just suck. That's the long and short of it. Drag pipes are designed to run just wide open. And this bike runs great wide open, like y'all saw in the video. It actually has a pretty good amount of power. I'm actually surprised with how much power this thing is. I don't know what cam's in it. The guy I got it from seemed to think maybe it had some kind of a cam in it, and I guess his dad had put this engine together, and maybe it had some sort of hop-up work done to it. Regardless, that's really it for this episode. If you got drag pipes and you're fighting that sag, fix the exhaust problem first. Don't go trying to fix it with carburetor and ignition problems. Obviously, make sure your carburetor is tuned and jetted correctly. Make sure you don't have any intake manifold leaks. Make sure, you know, your ignition, whatever you're using, is actually working correctly. But you're never going to fix that drag pipe sag unless you do something to the exhaust. For $5, you can't go wrong. As long as you don't mind drilling some holes in your exhaust pipes, which I obviously didn't. So I realized this wasn't like a big, long, epic episode of this huge build or fixing something really major, but this bike is what I would say is like maybe like, I don't know, 75% of the way done. So a lot of stuff from here on out is going to be like this, where we're just fixing little nitpicky stuff. Right off the top of my head, I do need to put a clutch in it. I'll probably do that over the winter. I still hate the shifter on that bike. It is so bad. That's the worst shifting bike I've ever ridden. It shifts so bad. So I hate the forward controls in general. So getting rid of that, that's probably actually be the last like big project on this bike. Again, that might be a good winter project. And just some other little small things. It has a little small oil leak somewhere on the primary side. I think it might be from the starter solenoid area of the world. So that might be a good episode for the future. And yeah, just little stuff like that. But so we're going to wrap this episode up. As always, thank you for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you who watches this channel, everybody who likes the videos, everyone who subscribes. I love reading y'all's comments and hearing what you have to say, so, you know, leave a comment if this is something you've done before, or if you want to try it, and you do try it, let me know if it worked on your bike too. In any event, yeah, thanks for supporting this channel. If you want to buy some merchandise from me, that's the best way you can support me is go to my website, buttcrackcycles.com, and grab a shirt or something off there. But even if all you do is, if you never buy a shirt and all you ever do is just like and subscribe to the channel, that helps a lot too. And I genuinely appreciate everybody who watches this YouTube channel. And for those of you who have gotten to meet in person, that's awesome. That's like been my favorite part about doing this YouTube channel, is being able to meet people who watch this channel and just actually talk to them in real life. So I'll see y'all on the next one. Be good.